when we knew we were a year away or 2 years away from bringing RecFest to the US, we were inviting a lot of the big influencers to the UK show. Chad Cheese, Lars, Matt Charney, Torrin Ellis, to come over and speak. And that done two things for us. It brought people over that we'd never seen the UK. When we came to the US, we had some voices that had already experienced RecFest, and they were the ones that were our ambassadors all of a sudden. So they were saying, hey folks, this is exciting. This thing you've never done before is coming to the US, and we've done it in the UK, and it's amazing.
Welcome to the Your Career BFF Podcast. I'm Anna Morgan, and I'm so excited to welcome today's guest, Jamie Leonard. Jamie is the founder of RecFest, which is also known as the Coachella of conferences, where he combines elements of shared learning, a conference, and elements of that trade show and festival. So we want to learn more about Jamie's adventure, building out RecFest, and talk about what's happening in 2025 and just get everyone more hyped up about joining RecFest 2025. So welcome, Jamie. Thank you for being here.
No, thank you very much. And I am the founder of RecFest, but I'm also Lily's number one fan as well. So that's on my bio.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate that. You know, Lily, my French bulldog, is getting more influential as each year passes. Might have to start her own LinkedIn fan page. So, question. So, is there a science of starting and running a conference? I'm asking so I can learn from you.
Yeah, the first science is you have to be slightly crazy to want to do it, because running events is the hardest thing in the world. Forbes brings out a stressful job list every year, and it kind of goes like soldier, policeman, firefighter, event organizer. But into context, these are people that get shot. These are people that run into burning buildings, and then there's us. So you have to answer to a lot of bosses, delegates, sponsors, and with us, obviously, Mother Nature as well is always someone we have to answer to.
Yeah. So that very first decision, the tipping point to say, I'm ready to create this experience. Anything that was leading up to that, I know that you had been in advertising sales and, been in the recruitment, marketing, and advertising space. What compelled you to want to create this shared learning and community building space for talent recruitment and people first leaders?
What's the swearing law on this podcast? Is it? Are we
this
PG-13
is the first episode, so you're setting the stage.
I know I won't go to that. No, most events in our space were crap, and that was the real driver for me and my wife originally to start to try and put on better events. The events that were in our industry, certainly in the UK, were very similar, very stale, same people on stage, very little put into the actual experience side. All about the sponsors and the sponsorship pound, and we just thought we could do better. And we were both avid festival fans, have been our entire lives, and just being at festivals, we started to look around and say, what's the difference between this and what we were going to in those conferences? And the difference was the human connection.
RecFest has changed the game, I feel like, for recruitment events. For TA recruitment and people leaders listening, like, what's the number one challenge you think RecFest helps solve right now?
Number one, what would be the number one? I think it's I think there's two things. I don't think I can pick one out. I think there's the connectivity part amongst our industry, which I think has never been more distant than it is right now, between work from home. A lot of our people find themselves between jobs or out of work. I think our industry has never felt less connected than it does right now. And RecFest is absolutely a connector. It's with the scale in the UK and now in the US, it is a place where you can look around and see someone you haven't seen in 5 years time, or someone that you maybe work with that you haven't actually been in the same space with before. So it's a real connector on that front. But I think probably more than anything else, our industry is in a pivot right now, but I don't think we know where we're pivoting to. It's not like anyone has the map. We're post-COVID. We've got multiple wars going on. We've got a lot of political unrest across the world. And then you've got the emergence of AI. And it doesn't feel like a lull like we've had before. We've had ebbs and flows within talent acquisition, and that's the nature of the game. But this feels completely different. So, we're hoping RecFest acts as a compass, a barometer, something that people can go to and go, okay, I can start to see a direction of travel here. And that's what happens when you bring in the brightest people in the industry to be on stage and find your own answer across those multiple speakers. And I think that's the key thing. With over 100 speakers, people will be able to find their own answer to the questions they're looking for. And I think that's, the biggest challenge our industry has today is which direction are we going? And, we're hoping at RecFest this year and next year and onwards acts as that signpost to say, okay, here's where we're going.
Yeah. And together we can do this. You've created almost a movement with RecFest, and it is so shareable and easy to celebrate and share. And, I love the story that you shared on your first event, and I deeply resonated because I decided to host my own conference last year, and I decided to do it very fast. I planned it in 89 days. I had 10 sponsors, 16 speakers, and a full day of just amazing learning. And, you had mentioned you brought, 90 to 100 people like kicking and screaming to your first event. And I was like, phoning a friend, I need you to come. It's my birthday. It's my 50th birthday. You have to come for this event. But then you doubled to the next year. And then it sounded like tripled the following year. And then here you are several years later, and you then decided to pivot across the pond. What really motivated you to bring this brilliance here to the US?
I've always loved the US. I've always, as a kid, we did a lot.
We know that you just come for the amusement parks, Jamie.
I come for the I do. I'm a big amusement park guy. I'm not going to lie to you. It's usually my kids saying, "Dad, can I go home and watch YouTube?" And I'm like, "No, we've only been to 7 rides so far. We're going to keep going." So what brought us to this? I've always as a kid, we always did a lot of trips to the US, and I've just always found the country fascinating. It's a real melting pot. It's kind of like 20, 30 different countries in one. And for us, this is the market you have to crack if you're any sort of business with any sort of ambition. You have to be in the US. So the idea of bringing RecFest probably from day one. So probably it was a 10-year ambition that we wanted to bring it over. We were supposed to bring it over in 2020. Obviously, COVID took care of that. But what we did, which looking back now was smart, was when we knew we were a year away or 2 years away from bringing RecFest to the US, we were inviting a lot of the big influencers to the UK show. Chad and Cheese, Lars, Matt Charney, Torrin Ellis, to come over and speak. And that done 2 things for us. It brought people over that we'd never seen in the UK on the live stage, which is great. And they're all amazing speakers, John Blasilica, etc. But what it meant was when we came to the US, we had some voices that had already experienced RecFest, and they were the ones that were our ambassadors all of a sudden. So they were saying, "Hey, folks, this is exciting. This thing you've never done before is coming to the US, and we've done it in the UK, and it's amazing. So be excited." So when we landed in the US in 2024, we had 1,000 people. Now, that kind of immediately takes you as one of the biggest events in the US from day one. So our ambition to come to the US is always just the sheer size and scale of the opportunity. We think this could be 10,000 people in 3 years. And that's where we want to shoot for.
Wow! And you're expecting how many this year?
I think it would be between 2,500 and 3,000.
Okay, that's amazing. I think our industry and just as humans, we've been through so much since COVID, and that experience and what's going on now certainly makes us realize how valuable these times together are, to learn from each other and just reconnect. And I know coming to RecFest the very first time, I was just like almost frantic and so excited to get out in the world. And it reminds me of Taylor Swift in a way, because when she, had been building her career and then her concerts got canceled, And then when she started, getting out there again, it was just like mania, insanity. Like everyone wanted to be a part of that. And, that's how I feel like the evolution of RecFest has been, where we're all like, hi, I'm so excited to see you. And then, like you said, I'm a raging fan. I'm trying to figure out how I can go experience RecFest in the UK now. And certainly, a crazy hype woman trying to recruit as many of my friends and community members to come, because it's also where I personally have experienced that collaboration over competition, that shared learning, no gatekeeping, and the casual environment that you create really fosters those great conversations, and is an amazing container for your sponsors, so that they can have conversations, because we know conversations and relationships and trust are really what's going to be the tipping point into business. And so, hat tip to you to think about that environment to attract those people to partner with the event. Sponsorship. How do you navigate that whole world? And what is the priority of the vendors that decide to partner with RecFest?
I think there's an education part to start off with, that this isn't going to be, a Las Vegas hotel lobby, and you're not going to be there with your suits and your business cards. So that's number one. So sometimes people have to come and experience it first of all, and then say, okay, we're going to come and sponsor. I think there's a level of want to give back to the industry, because the thing with RecFest is it isn't a take relationship with the partners that are there. They're not just trying to grab you and put you on a demonstration and get your email address. That's part of it, and that absolutely is part of it, because at the heart, it's also a trade show as well. But if you look at the activations and what they bring to RecFest, that's a really big thing. Shaker, having an amazing central
I can't wait
kind
to
of
hang
structure.
out in the Shaker. What they're having different experiences along
throughout the years,
which looks amazing. And I personally, being a creative junkie, love that. And I think that was the other thing that I was like, wow, this is so different. And humans, at least me, being neurospicy, I learn better in more fun, inspired, kind of casual spaces. So amazing.
I think it also allows our exhibitors to show their personality, and and personality is a business as well. You can't do that in a 6x6 box in the Mandalay Bay, expo hall. It doesn't work that way. But with green grass underfoot and blue sky overhead, and kind of an unlimited amount of space to really build, it allows them to show what they're all about. What is their personality? What do they stand for? And also, they're as big a part of the event as everything else, because what they're creating is experience, and experience is so important to us. Memory is, will last, hours, and experience lasts forever. There's a lot of those kind of analogies, and by creating those experiences at RecFest, whether it's seeing that amazing speaker, meeting an old friend from 5 years ago, hanging out with Shaker, having cocktails at 3 PM, talking about the recruitment market 20 years ago, which was fab. I had a great time doing that with Jerry Crispin. It's creating an experience, and that stays with you. And so come back to about the partners. Why is it so different to anything else? Because it's human connection. And when you go again to a Las Vegas a hotel hall, and everyone's in smart casual, and it's a big firm handshake, and you're on guard. You've got your armor up. Your shield is there already.
I know they're trying to sell me something.
But I think even from a delegate point of view as well, what we do is we create something that's more akin to what you would do in your personal time. RecFest feels more like an event you'd go to for your friends rather than work colleagues. And what it does, it breaks down those barriers. So for our exhibitors and the audience, they create human connection as opposed to business connection. And human connection is far deeper than a business connection. So that's the benefit, and that's the trade-off to them. Bring your activations, bring something experiential, come in your casual clothes, play the music, have a DJ. And actually what you'll get, and that happens a lot. And what you'll get in return from that is human connections with people you may or may not do business with in the future.
Right. And you can't predict the ripple effect of those conversations and that impact in that moment. But, you know, and that's the beauty of just being in that abundant mindset and being focused on the human connection and those relationships and trusting that those dots will connect in the future, right? The
Absolutely.
other question that comes up from a business standpoint is, you know, how do you ensure with your partners that they're able to measure or define like the ROI of the success,
Sure.
especially in such a non-traditional environment, because they have to go back and get the budget approved and get permission from the board, et cetera.
Absolutely. So I'd say, even though it doesn't look it, probably the same way any trade show does. So all of our stands have scanners, so they'll be scanning people, nurturing those leads like any other exhibition, following them through, whether it's to actually a pipeline or doing a deal as well. And our client success team works really closely post event to make sure that those leads, those conversations are followed up with, and they're going through that path. And it kind of depends on what they want to get out of it. If it is a straight, okay, we want ROI, we want, revenue back, then we do that. That's fine. We work like that with a lot of our clients. Some people, it's brands. They just, they want to be out there in the market. Someone like a LinkedIn doesn't need us to drive them sales leads. But in the UK, they'll participate because actually they want to be part of the community and they want to be there. And, this is the industry celebration. This is the moment our industry comes together and celebrates itself and the work it does. And companies like LinkedIn, companies like Indeed, they don't, like I say, they don't need us for sales leads. It's more a case of wanting to be part of that celebration, that community when people are there. Yeah, absolutely. Because they're as big a part of the industry as anyone else. And it's important for them that they're there at that moment.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, would you be open to walking us through how you and your team choose the sessions, topics, and speakers, and how you foster inclusion and really help or get some new voices on stage? Thank you, by the way. Excited to join a panel on the second day.
Really excited to have you there. So for us, it's really about understanding what the audience wants first of all. So we go out quite late with our call for papers because first of all, we want to get in at least 1,000 people signing up because then we'll start to understand what they want, and we understand that through the sign up form. So we look at the subjects they want to cover. We look at the technologies they're interested in buying. We look at the types of talks they're interested in. Whether they're there for more of a team bonding thing, are they there to buy technology? Are they there to learn? And then from that, we can start to curate the content. It's really important for us to always have new faces. If not, it becomes an echo chamber. And I've seen so many events fall into that trap of just the same people over and over again. And actually, it doesn't move the needle at all. It doesn't, it's just the same conversation over and over again. I know that diversity and inclusion is very important to us and me personally. So my son's deaf. So that kind of disability, diversity, commentary is very, very important, but as is, every other sort of aspect of the diversity spectrum as well. And representation is hugely important to us as well. We are, as an industry, underrepresented in leadership, and that's that. There's theories to why that is in terms of where we bring our leaders from, but we are woefully white and male from a TA director point of view. So we try to have as much representation as possible to demonstrate to people this is achievable. You don't just have to be a white man to get to that level. Anyone can do it if they have the right passion, the right intelligence, the right motivation. And that's super, super important to us as well. Without it being a tick box. And I see with some events, go, hey, guess what? We're 50-50. It's great, but you're doing it for the right reasons. Or if you just kind of, counted the speakers, and that's, not really helpful.
I went down a little rabbit hole one night where I started researching the demographics of the speakers at different conferences in our space. And you all nailed it. You were equal, completely equal. So we thank you for that. Now, you mentioned your son, and I know you're a fantastic father. I also relate. I have a daughter that has an autoimmune issue that is difficult to navigate. Nothing like having a son that is deaf, but fatherhood is some of the greatest leadership skills out there. So thinking about your journey as a father, like what's one dad move or coaching lesson that translates directly to, you're managing your team and building these events and experiences?
My team actually listen to me. My kids don't. I think that's what I've learned. Oh man, that's a really good question. Let me think. I think I look, I know, with my kids sometimes you can get into quite heated situations and you have to take a step back and go, and my wife is saying, you're the adult in the room, please, act like it, like I'm not infallible at all. It's something, all of a sudden you're having a standoff with a 4-year-old and it's not a good look for a 200, for a £300 man. I think just being able to relate to people just on any level and just understand that, arguing with someone isn't going to work. Demanding stuff from people isn't going to work. Let's just try and understand why they want this. So it might be my kids.
People.
Yeah, but it might be my kids demand, my son demanding a toy he's seen on TV, or it might be my marketing team demanding we get HubSpot for £10,000 a month. So, but it's then about understanding. Okay, why do you want it? And let's have a conversation around it rather than just a yes/no conversation.
Exactly. Okay. There was something I thought of. Oh, when you talked about melting down and being a big park enthusiast, we used to say, because we lived in Tampa for many years, so we were at the Orlando parks all the time. And when we would see a kid just like absolutely melting down, like falling out of the stroller, like screaming, we would be like, "Oh, they lost the magic." Speaking of parks, which is your favorite?
Oh, I'm gonna say Animal Kingdom.
That is a good
I think
one.
I like Animal Kingdom. I like California Adventure as well. So either, but Animal Kingdom first and foremost. I think for me, I just love the idea that it mixes that kind of real world nature in with some really amazing rides as well. I think the theme is fantastic as a park, and it's very underrated and never very full as well. Everyone goes to the other parks.
And you and your family typically go after RecFest in the US, right? You take a little vacation afterwards.
We do. We usually go to Ibiza for the summer after RecFest. Florida, we've done a few times in March. LA, we've done a few times over Christmas. So it's usually because I couldn't do Florida in the summer. I burn so easily. I'm from the UK. I burn in the rain. So I think that would be a little bit too hot.
That's not fun. At Animal Kingdom, my daughter went through the phase where she rode Mount Everest literally like 17 times in a row. So I have one of those little adrenaline junkies as well.
Yeah.
So I also heard that you are a huge barbecue fan. You have several.
Who have you spoke to?
Gadgets.
Who have you spoke to? Hold on. Who have you spoke to?
Relationship builder.
This is not stuff online. This isn't LinkedIn stuff.
Barbecue, you come to Nashville. Out of all the experiences and activations, why isn't anyone hooking us up with some barbecue?
You know what? And it is the same answer I get in the UK. There is so much liability around food preparation at events. I think we will have barbecue this year because I think when we was in Bicentennial Park, we had to use their. In fact, we didn't have to. We just sent everyone to the market next door. But this time we've actually got our own like food trucks and stuff. So I'm pretty sure we've got barbecue. But I think the idea of a few recruiters after maybe a few beers at 4:00 in the afternoon and an open barbecue, our insurance might not cover that.
I understand because and again, from an event organizer standpoint, what I'm learning and planning Evolve 2.0 in January of 26 is those types of things. Like I interviewed another space recently and wanted to bring in an espresso, like custom coffee maker, which I did. And John Baldino was the sponsor and they made lattes in the lobby, which was awesome. But at this new event, you can't bring in outside vendors or you have to go through a process. So those are always fun lessons to learn. Going back to our community and elevating the talent and recruitment industry, for any recruiters that are looking to come and need to go to their boss and get approval because RecFest is so easily shareable and has that relaxed environment. Any tips for them, showcasing why this is a priority and what is available for them to learn and the potential impact by attending, what they could bring back and, implement into their daily work?
Yeah, sure. So we call it the RecFest effect. So everything that goes into the event, and that's the networking, the peer-to-peer learning, the latest technologies. It's all about supercharging that person. So when they go back to the business, they are, significantly more productive, have better output, better ideas than what they come in. As an event, you have to move people, right? So if that's true north, you have to kind of move them 10 degrees this way. If they come out looking in the same way they went in, you've not moved the dial at all. It's just an event for event's sake. They have to come out with a different perspective on at least something. So when they wake up on that Friday morning, having spent 2 days at RecFest, and they've had that day of meeting new people and great talks, they're going to wake up motivated. They're going to wake up better tooled. They're going to wake up more intelligent to the industry, and it's almost like augmenting them into a much better recruiter, manager, leader. And that's what you get. They're going to start here and they're going to come out here and they'll be better for it and better for the business. And at the price of $150, $200 for a ticket, a flight, and the hotel, it's the best way to get the most out of your people. And if absolutely nothing else, they'll come out with that collective, we're all in this together. We're an industry. I've found my people. I know where, I'm going through the same thing as my tribe. And that alone will give them a better perspective on what they do. And the key thing for me is that sometimes we get stuck in the minutia, data, tech. What we do changes lives, right? And that's significant. We put people into roles and it changes their life. And, like we said before, babies are born because a recruiter put a midwife into that role. People travel around the world because a recruiter put a pilot into that role. We are we have a small cog that literally keeps the world turning. And I think
I love that.
But I think if people can be reminded of that, they're going to go back into work with purpose, as opposed to, I've got this target I need to hit. Yeah, boom, boom, boom. Actually, what you're doing makes a difference. And that's kind of what we want to keep reminding people at RecFest.
Beautiful. And that's so important as we look at how our industry is shaping from being the transactional order taker recruiter to coming back and feeling empowered and inspired to be a talent partner or, a talent strategist. Because really, again, I feel like recruiters are magicians in so many ways. And I agree where, we're not necessarily opening someone's heart and fixing it. We are setting the stage for life-changing opportunities. And I never take the opportunity to recruit and work with a candidate lightly, because it is a life decision just as big as deciding who you're going to marry or to buy a house or have a kid.
Yeah.
Where you choose to work, affects every aspect of your life. And so hosting a shared learning experience that builds community, educates people, and inspires really is, the perfect package in my mind. So, for any listeners that are wondering why they should prioritize continued learning in this space, this is the time. And a space like RecFest at that affordable price, which, as someone who's trying to figure out pricing for her own conference, your price is extremely reasonable compared to the other ticket prices industry-wide. How are you able to do that? Can you kind of pull back the curtain a little bit on that?
No, of course. It's a decision we made a long time ago that we wanted the event to be as accessible to people as possible. And that's why, we started to do the Green Lanyard campaign as well, which, means that as an out of work TA person, you can claim a free ticket to RecFest and you can, come with Green Lanyard and show people you're open to work. Bluntly, we make 95% of our revenue through sponsorship. So because of that, we don't have to charge the high fees that some other conferences do. So we decide not to, because we just want it to be as accessible to everyone as possible. And the other part of it, which we're starting to see now, which is an upward trajectory, is, the scale of RecFest in the UK was when people started to bring their teams to RecFest. You all of a sudden you'd have, Tesco's a big retail outlet in the UK, rather than bringing 5 people, bringing 20 people, because they wanted the whole team to be a part of it. And we're starting to see that in the US now, and that's another reason we keep the ticket down. Because if we charge $2,000 a ticket, and we could because the content is that good and the experience is that good. But then they're only bringing 2 people from their team. We want bring everyone. We want everyone. We want the sources there. We want the managers there. We want the TA directors. We want the VP of talent being at that event because it's for everyone. And that's the key thing. RecFest is for absolutely everyone, and we want to keep it that way.
I love that. Yeah, I actually ran into some teams from Delta last year and some people that I had worked with previously. So I'm hoping that they will come back this year. And I guess through your time, building RecFest, you've just built your pipeline of sponsors and those relationships over time. I'm trying to think about the additional features and stages and formats that are coming this year for RecFest. Have we hit most of them, or what are we forgetting to talk about?
What we changed? Well, the big change this year is the venue. So Bicentennial Park, which we love Bicentennial Park, it's a great venue, but we hit capacity. They couldn't do over 2,000 people with the format we wanted. So we're now at the fairground, which is a huge piece of green space. It also has an indoor conference center, what we're not using this year, but you might see us use in future years. So I think the venue itself is going to be very different. So the format's going to change. Where Bicentennial Park was very long and narrow, we've kind of squared it off a little bit now. So it's going to be a bit more communal and a bit more easy to kind of run into people and meet people. I think that's kind of it. We've kept us a very traditional format. If it isn't broke, then don't fix it. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's more of the same. But yeah, bigger venue. And hopefully it won't be as warm because it's October rather than September this year. So.
Yeah, I am actually very excited about that, just being a little bit more of a traditional fall day. But in Nashville, you never know what kind of weather you're going to get. So we're about to wrap up. One last thing, any favorite team building rituals, like personal hacks or family traditions or, team engagement celebrations to keep that burnout at bay as you're, working on building this experience all year long?
Oh,
we know you eat barbecue and go to the park.
Yeah. So for me, it's definitely about getting away and shutting down when you can. I think with the team, I think those traditions. We have one where there's a great bar in Nashville called Whiskey River. And we'll all meet there after the second day because that's us done at that point. We're finished, right. And that's away from the crowds. It's away from the delegates, away from the sponsors, and you just get that kind of high five moment. And everyone knows where to meet. Everyone knows the part of the bar it is. We're going to be in there from 7 o'clock onwards, and it's great because you get that kind of real feeling of achievement. We've done now. We don't have to worry about anything else. It's over, and it's a great feeling. And yeah, hopefully we'll be back there again this year.
That's awesome. So I'm all about being a career BFF, right? Someone who mentors others, that is all about collaboration over competition. Who is that person in your life that's been that career BFF that has supported you, celebrated you, called you up to the carpet when you needed it?
I'm going to say Joe Slavin. So our chairperson, Joe Slavin, who was my boss in one of my first jobs at monster.com. He was then my boss again at Fish for Jobs, which was where I went afterwards. And thankfully, after a few years separated, he agreed to come on board as sort of chairman of our business. And he's always been there rooting me on and sort of cheering from the sides. And, my mum and dad obviously also as well. Super proud of what I do. They have no idea what I do, but that's fine. It doesn't matter. They don't know what I do. We do something with events.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to explain. And I know your father is someone that has been a big influence in your life as well. And he's sort of been in recruitment in a way, identifying top football players. Is that right?
You've spoken to my wife.
Lois and I are buddies.
I'm trying to think.
Sorry, Lois.
Are we Facebook friends? Because this is the only place you get that information.
I don't think so. Not yet. We just had a lovely call and I just reached out and said we were having a chit chat. And, I didn't want to get into anything too serious, but these are fun, relatable topics. And, I know my father started in the parts department at Ford and worked his way up to the top and owned many different dealerships. And, he's a business icon for me and someone I really look up to.
Yeah, my dad's been a massive influence on my life and my career. So yeah, I mean, in a kind of strange way, he works in recruitment. So he works in youth development for Arsenal Football Club. I think he's been there for 35, 40 years. Has a fantastic work ethic. He's always kind of been someone to put a shift in and found something he absolutely loved and spent a lifetime doing it. And I think that's such an important lesson to anyone that, if you can find, and I'm not going to use the old adage, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. No, it's still work. But I think if you can find a passion that you can do for the majority of your career, which I've absolutely done and he did as well, then I think it's a life worth living. And if you don't enjoy what you do and there's options, explore the options. He pulled me in. My dad was a carpet fitter for many years, so he would tough job. Carrying carpets upstairs, laying carpets. Every night he'd come home, his knuckles would be busted, his knees would be busted, he wouldn't be able to walk. And when he started to work for Arsenal Football Club after the carpet shop he was working closed down, he was there for about a month, and he pulled me and my brother aside and said, whatever you do in life, make sure you enjoy it, because I've spent years hating what I do, and I now realize what life is. And that was such a big message to me and my brother as well, which is, life is too short. Enjoy what you do, find your passion and work your ass off to stay within it.
Absolutely. And like we said, those of us that are in recruiting are a little crazy, and those that host events are a little crazy. But, I know from personal experience, as I was building Evolve, I was like, am I in a career plot twist? Because this doesn't feel like work. I am so ignited and excited about bringing these voices to a stage and bringing all the people together that have impacted me, that, are open to difficult conversations and challenging the status quo, and also being willing to do something different. They say people are going to think you're crazy, but keep doing it until it works. And you and your team have absolutely done that. And our industry is better for it. So
thank you.
Cannot wait to step on the fairgrounds in October with you and the RecFest team. What do we want our listeners to do? They need to go get their tickets, make sure their team is going to join us. What else?
Go get the tickets. Make sure the team's going to join. Make sure your team joins you. But if not, come on your own as well. You'll know that it's a really inclusive environment. So even if you're coming as a party of one, you'll meet friends very quickly.
Right. Or just come find me, and then I will introduce you to everyone.
you find you and Lily, and then you've got two friends all day, which is great. I think exactly. I think advice I give people coming for the first time is definitely map your day. Use the app to map, because there's so much you can miss, and you will miss because there's so much going on, and also because of the volume of people there, you're more likely to run into people you know. So you're about to go to a talk, and all of a sudden, John, I haven't seen you in ages, and you go, I've missed a talk. So map your day, map your agenda. Book your meetings with the exhibitors as well. Great technologies, great services there, and just really use the 2 days as much as possible, and then always end up on Broadway. That's my go-to for any trips to Nashville. Always end the day on Broadway.
100%. Well, we can't wait to learn and celebrate and party with you. Thank you so much for the time and the great conversation, and we'll see you in October. That's another episode of Your Career BFF podcast in the books. Just because the episode is over doesn't mean the learning stops. Your Career BFF podcast will be back to drop more knowledge in our next episode. If today gave you something to think about, made you laugh, or sparked an aha moment, that's your indication to follow, rate, and review the show wherever you listen. Until next time, I'm your Career BFF. Keep showing up, keep learning, and keep leading fearlessly. See you soon.